Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. A couple of weeks ago, we went up to New Hampshire. I have to admit, my wife Joanne Lang went to Harvard Business School with Carolyn's husband, and they have a wonderful event every year where we get together and pick apples, and it's absolutely terrific. But then again, the night before we came to Carolyn's cheese shop, and it's more than a cheese shop. And I said, you have to be on my program. And she said, okay. And Carolyn Shaw is with us today. Carolyn, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Don. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, how I appreciated being at your cheese shop. It was really an experience. And I said, let's talk about it. Helen, first, as we ask every guest, tell us a little bit about your personal background.
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, and when I was a freshman in high school, my parents moved to Europe. So we lived in England for 2 years, and then I finished my high school up in Switzerland. And then I went to college at Keene State in Keene, New Hampshire.
Hmm. So you ended up in New Hampshire. It's a great state. I was really surprised. We ourselves moved from New Jersey to Wilmington, Delaware, but it is great. But now, having said that, you've created well, not created, you've expanded a cheese shop. But what made you go into it?
Well, I think having the opportunity to grow up in Europe, it really opened up so many channels for me as a kid. My parents were always into exploring where we lived and the communities that we were surrounded by. So, living in England and living in Switzerland, cheese makers were a thing, right? So, we would go and we would explore these beautiful farms and we would get exposure to really cool cultures that I didn't necessarily have the experience in learning about when I lived in New Jersey. So having an amazing experience where on a Thursday afternoon, a huge truck would pull up in front of our house in Switzerland and the back door would open up and the aromas of fresh bread and cheese and meats butter would just come wafting out of the back of this truck. And you can't help but think, wow, what an immersive, amazing experience just to be around all this great food. So when I went to college, I was looking for a part-time job, and at the Colony Mill Marketplace, there was a cheese store that opened up. So I felt like I had had some experience from living in Europe and being able to eat these amazing foods over there. I could translate that to, helping them out at the shop. And it was great. And I think I've always had a little bit of a cheesy background, exploring and wanting to learn more and being around people that just enjoy food.
Well, before we go further, the first question is, where's your cheese shop?
So the,
And go
the
ahead.
cheese shop is located in Hampton, New Hampshire.
And what's his name?
It's
And
Say Cheese, C apostrophe EST cheese. It's a play on words.
okay. And do you have a website?
I do. It is www.saycheesenh.com.
Hmm.
You have
Okay.
to put the NH in there because there's a Say Cheese in New Zealand, there's a Say Cheese in California, there's one in New Jersey. So the NH is pretty important.
Okay. So now, having said that, all right. How did you end up in New Hampshire? Ended up uh, with this particular shop.
Well, in the mid 2000s, I found myself in a spot for a career change. I was a single mom raising my two kids. I had a great job, but I wanted to have another supplementary income that I could have some fun, learn something, and meet some great people. And that led me to working at the second location of Say Cheese when it was down the street in Northampton. I had bumped into the owner and asked her if she was hiring. And she said, well, maybe come in and talk to me. So we had a conversation. And the next day I sent her a thank you note, appreciating the time that she took. And 2 days later, she called me up and said I was hired. So I had worked for the original owner for 7 years. And
Mm.
it was great. I loved the people. I loved the experience. It really lends a creative side because we do a lot of charcuterie boards. We do a lot of personal, catering and events and parties, and it's really amazing.
Mm. Well, I always ask this question of entrepreneurs: what makes you do the leap? I mean, it's difficult. You're buying a business and you're jumping in. What made you decide you wanted to do
I love coming to work every day. And if you get the opportunity to find something that, you know, fills your joy, you know, fills a niche within the community that people need. If I have something that I can give that somebody else is looking for and it makes them happy and it makes their lives easier, for me, I was just drawn to that. I was just
it?
drawn to what this looks like in our community. And I love it. I just absolutely love it. I come to work surrounded by amazing people. There's wonderful customers. It's just joy.
Okay, well, let's talk about the unique selling point, which is a Harvard Business School idea. But what makes a company, a cheese store successful? I mean, I've seen cheese stores come in and go out quickly. What do you do that makes you successful?
Well, I would say, Don, more than selling cheese or wine or crackers, we sell customer service. The customer comes in and we just want to make it the best experience for them possible. We do realize that it's a specialty cheese shop. The fact that you might not have ever traveled or you don't really have the experiences of what those cheeses are. When you come in, we diffuse that. It's a very real and a very user-friendly atmosphere. We're a tasting store, so we don't ever want anybody to go home with a bad surprise. So when you come in and you don't know what you're looking for, but maybe you want to have a cheese plate because you have friends coming over that you haven't seen in 10 years, or you're having an event for your daughter and she wanted to have a cheese platter, but you don't know anything about cheese. We walk you through the process and we explore with you the flavors. We talk to you about you know what you're experiencing, if you like what you're tasting, if you don't like what you're tasting. So I really feel like customer service really not so much sets us apart, but I think it makes us unique because it is a one-on-one experience every time people come in.
Hmm. Well, it was certainly when the case when we were there. I mean, that was a cheese plate. But having said that, well, our Americans are different in many different ways. But are they different in terms of what they like in cheese?
I don't think they're really different. I think the exposure when you're in Europe is a little bit greater on how many varieties there are and different types. Unfortunately, here in the United States, we notice that most people's experience is from the grocery store. So a lot of people ask for smoked Gouda or Havarti, and those are not necessarily things that we have uh, because our world's a little bit more open with variety because we do source from the entire world.
Hmm. Well, let's talk about that. How do you find your cheeses?
So a lot of times we get customer suggestions, whether they've traveled to Portugal or they've gone, um, to Spain or they've gone to France and they've tried these cheeses that are amazing.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times they bring back suggestions and we find those.
Hmm. Oh, So you do get customer suggestions. Well,
Oh, a lot of customer suggestions. I
mm,
mean, we wouldn't be here without our customers. So if we can source things for them that they would like to try and share with their families, we're more than happy to do the homework to find those for people.
well, to me, cheese always means cheese and good bread. Have do you find have you been able to find good bread in New Hampshire?
So we actually source from a company out of France where we have par baked bread, and we have it in our freezer, and you can bring it home and put it in the freezer for 12 minutes, and you just want to throw on a beret and grab a chunk of brie, and you
Uh,
just feel like you're transported.
okay. Well, let your website again for people who would like to learn more.
The website is saycheesenh uh, .com. Sorry about that.
No, can you spell it out for our audience?
Sure. It is CESTCHEESENH.com.
Okay. Well, let's go back. You know, what are the one or two things, kind of obstacles that you've overcome over your first period?
Well, I think sometimes customer perception. It is a store that is a unique store, I would say, because it's more of a boutique style atmosphere, people feel intimidated. So I think intimidation, whether it's I'm not dressed well enough to go there, or I'm not comfortable going there because I'm not knowledgeable enough about cheese, or, even unfortunately in this economy, the fear of what the tariffs have done to us as far as the prices.
Hmm.
Those are some of the biggest obstacles.
How have you dealt with tariffs?
Well, realizing that we are a luxury product, unless we have business, we don't belong here. We
Hmm.
have the cheese store itself, when we have moved to our new location here in Hampton, we sort of evolved and expanded. We did add a wine bar, which has been a great addition. So we can share, our recipes with people, some of the things that we've discovered in our travels around the world, and we can share that with our customers. So we do have a wine bar with lunch and dinner. We also have an event room. So we've added to the cheese piece, which is really helpful, I think, in kind of diffusing the pressure of when you come in here and feeling like there's a spotlight on you. With the tariffs, we realize that, what, for me, and in the future, it might be tricky, but I will never go over $40 for a pound of cheese. It's a lot of money,
Yeah.
and when people come in and they see those prices, they panic. But a pound is a lot of cheese. Not a lot of people buy a pound of cheese. And when you go to a supermarket and you see a small chunk and it might have $12 on it, and that seems manageable, in fact, we've done some price comparison. We're actually cheaper than our local grocery stores. But because we offer it by the pound, it seems like it's a little bit more. But we're competitive, if not better.
Hmm. That's 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 an interesting point. I hadn't thought about the price point of $40.
Yeah,
Um,
it can be very intimidating, but you know what? A pound of cheese is a lot of cheese. And I would say it's rare for anybody to walk out with that. Do most people go walk out with a quarter of a pound? Sure. But the average price of our cheeses is around $30 a pound.
hmm,
So you're walking out with a quarter a pound of cheese, you've spent $7. That's not very intimidating.
no.
You know, that's a coffee at a well-known coffee shop,
Yes. Yes.
you know.
Well, let me ask you this question. You're in a shopping center like area. Do you get the do you think it's better to be in a shopping area or by yourself in a separate house or something?
Well, I think in our other location, we were one little yellow house that the cheese stood alone on the street. It was cute, it was adorable, and it was standout. But you know what? I think for what it was at the time, it was great. But we've moved to a plaza, as you mentioned, and I think it's like anything. We're in a community, and I think when you're a part of a community, it's just a richer experience. There we get to feed off of each other. Where someone goes to the health food store next door and they happen to walk by and have never heard of us, and they come in and they explore, and we get to feed off each other. We have a wonderful spa a couple doors down. We've got um, a thrift shop for ladies' clothing right next to us. We've got a uh, pizza shop. We all work off of each other. It's an amazing community. I think we're all thriving with
Hmm.
the plaza being full, and it's terrific. Plenty of parking, easier to get in. It's great.
Well, the town itself that you're in, what's it like, and what would you suggest? What type of a town would you suggest for a cheese shop like yours?
Well, it's interesting because we live in a coastal town in New Hampshire, which is driven by, tourism. So anywhere from the beginning of June to the end of August, boy, we're crazy with people coming to the beach. But then when August dies down and September, October, November roll around, we get the leaf peepers. So we get a lot of people flowing in that way. And then it's ski season. Who doesn't want to come in and get cheese for fondue? We're so fortunate with where we are and the town where it's located in the state of New Hampshire. It's one of the most perfect spots to be because we have people that entertain in big, beautiful parties. And we have people that grab a basket of cheese and go up to the mountains for a weekend.
Hmm.
Grab
So,
a couple of sandwiches, you go to the beach. We couldn't be in a more perfect spot, Don. It's fabulous.
how do you see creating a satellite stores someplace else sometime in the future?
Well, I don't think you can ever say never.
Well, people say you have to expand or die, but you said about overcoming obstacles. Well, what has been a real advantage to you in your initial period?
Well, the advantages. Uh, I've surrounded myself by an amazing staff, which is a support system that has the same beliefs that I do. We are strong in the community with our ties. We can help extract from people, what they're looking for, kind of hold their hand to get them, you know, to be able to get to the end of a journey that makes them happy with being able to share what they've learned from us with their friends, their family, and other people that they meet. So I think it's surrounding yourself with good people. And I have an amazing staff. I've got an amazing chef. I've got an amazing bartender, and we're all about being here and being a positive spot in our community.
Hmm. Um, I'm trying to think about my own experience there. Let's talk about the bar and the dining. What made you decide to go into that?
Well, the little house that we were in before was great. As far as selling cheese and selling wine, we had really gotten to our limit of our earning potential there. It
Hmm.
was a small building. It was 1,200 square feet, and we had maximized our capacity. So we had come to the end of our lease. We had come to an end of the agreement with the original owner's husband because she had passed away. And when she passed away, she had offered for me and my old business mate to buy it, and we did. But the end of our 2-year contract, the building was being sold, and we had to figure out what we're going to do. And my partner decided to retire. That we had, lived our dream for 2 years, and it was what we had needed it to be. And she had some other obligations she wanted to, fulfill with her life and other dreams. And I thought, what, maybe I'll retire too. I just got married. It's a good opportunity. It's a perfect break. But when I saw this location, And I started thinking, in 2 years, we sold $28,000 in gift certificates.
Wow.
We, we've got a community that adores us. Where are we going? I can't close. I mean, what a horrible loss that would be. So I thought, you know what, go big or go home. I went back and I looked at all my notes, what people wanted. They wanted a bigger store that was safer to get into. They wanted easy parking. They wanted it to be easily accessible if you had a handicap. They wanted a function room. They wanted to be able to have a European dining experience and be able to sit with a glass of wine and chat with their friends in a unique spot. So I put all of that together, and in 6 weeks we opened this.
Hmm.
And no short of a miracle, Don.
Well, let's talk about research for a minute. You decided to ask your customers what they wanted.
Yes, 100%. We wouldn't be here without them.
Hmm. And you're selling gift certificates. People people say it's a great thing or it's a terrible thing, but obviously you think gift certificates are good or
They've been
uh,
wonderful for us. It gives somebody the opportunity and a reason to maybe go out of their comfort zone. And I know it sounds silly that cheese would be super intimidating, but people often come in and say, "Gosh, I'm so stupid. I don't know anything." And we think, "Wow, that we didn't either when we started. So let's learn together. Like let's help you kind of figure out what you like, what you don't like, and we can narrow it down." And I think the gift certificate is almost like a hall pass for someone to be able to try something that they necessarily wouldn't have done on their own.
well, what is the one thing that you've learned from all of this that you'd pass on to our audience?
I think retail is the long game. You know, you it's like anything you plant. You put a seed in the ground and it has to grow roots. And once you've grown your roots, then the flowers start to come. It's the long game. You're not going to get into a retail business and all of a sudden be like, these are my dreams. This is going to happen. I'm going to be rich. Your riches come in different ways. Your riches come in the beginning in the sales that you make to someone that you necessarily wouldn't have really come across before. It's the small tiny connections that we make with people in the community for our type of business. The woman whose husband that just died and has nowhere to go, and she finds herself sitting in our cafe remembering the trip that she went to with her husband in France when she was 25. We get to
Mhm.
give that to people. So it's the long game. It's knowing that whatever you do today, they're ripples that are you don't even know that you're making. And it's an honor to be able to be in a business in a community like we're at. It's an honor.
Well, that's a great one. Your website, if one last time.
The website is saycheesenh.com. And if you go onto our top page, it'll bring you to our story. And everything that I talked to you about today is in there. And, I hope people enjoy that. And I think the one thing with our website, when you do look, because a lot of people will look on their phones, Don, instead of looking on the computer, there's a menu that it looks like there's only 4 items, but just keep scrolling because you'll find everything you're looking for.
Hmm. You have 1 minute. What would you like to leave our audience with?
Thank you so much for the opportunity for having me on here, just to be able to share, you know, my story, to share that, what, food shouldn't be intimidating. It's just a wonderful way to invite people in. It's a great way to gift to somebody, to maybe just show some appreciation in a different way. You know, I just can't say enough of what a fabulous experience this is. Whether we succeed or we fail, the process has been amazing. And I would like to think that in this economy, with the customer service that we provide, and we're giving something to somebody that's a little bit more special than they might get someplace else, and makes them want to come back.
Well, on that note, we say thank you, Carolyn, for a really great time together.
Well, thank you, Don. I'm so grateful.